Um, I will hand it over to Zareen to kindly guide our presentation for today.
Yes, thank you, Georgia, and welcome to everybody. Looks like we've got about 50 of us in the room together as we start on this journey. Welcome to our International Student Orientation. We all want to warmly congratulate you on your acceptance at SFU. And hey, if you're still waiting to hear about your admission status, hold tight. We hope that you hear some good news soon. We're so pleased that you've chosen SFU as part of your academic journey, and we surely hope that your experience is going to go exactly how you want it to. So, my name is Zoreen, and I'm the lucky one who gets to moderate our session together. And I'd like us to open up our time together by respectfully acknowledging that Simon Fraser University is located on the stolen, unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh, Katsi, Coquitlam, Kaikai, Kwantlen, Semiahmoo, and Tawasin nations. What I've just shared with you is what we call the land acknowledgement. Some of you may be familiar with the concept, while for others it might be something new. We acknowledge the land to honor the Indigenous peoples who have lived and worked on this land historically and presently, and to spread awareness of land rights in this settler colonial society. As we open up, I'd like to just share the agenda for our session. For the first hour, our team will answer some commonly asked questions, both around immigration requirements as well as medical insurance. Then we're going to take a quick, maybe like 5-minute break, and then jump into a 30-minute question and answer session. One thing that I'd like you to just maybe just consider is to enable your caption functions. I know that all of us might speak in different ways, whether the pace or the accent might be difficult or easy. Having the captions might help you just follow along. There's a lot of information, and we just thought that could be helpful. And then those of you who are watching the recording, please do note that the auto caption functionality may not always be 100% accurate. Next slide. And so here's a snapshot of our session's presenters for today. As I mentioned, there will be 5 of us, and we will all be around to welcome you in person and or virtually in the fall. So I thought maybe it might be nice to hear a little bit about ourselves. I'll begin with myself. Once again, my name is Zoreen, and my ethnic background comes from Gujarat in India. My parents were born and brought up in Kenya, in Uganda, in East Africa, and they came to Canada as refugees, where by default, then I myself was born. My role at SFU is the student transition educator for our unit at International Services for Students. My colleague to the right, Georgia, who you've already heard and met online, comes from Canadian and British parents with some impeccable English skills, and she's now trying to learn some Spanish. Georgia is one of our 6 immigration specialists who acts as an advisor for all international students. My colleague Jatinder is another one of our immigration specialists who also acts as an advisor for all of you. He was born and brought up in New Delhi, India, and moved to Canada in 2016. Since then, Jatinder has been working in the field of immigration, in various capacities. My colleague Ishani hails from Sri Lanka and is our Stellar International Student Experience Coordinator. As a former international student herself at SFU, she's eager to welcome all new international students to the community. And lastly, Chelsea is our guest with us from the international recruitment team. And Chelsea's father's family immigrated to Canada from Italy, and her mother is a 3rd-generation Canadian with both Irish and Scottish roots. Chelsea has lived, worked, and traveled to 66 countries and studied as an international student both in South Africa and the UK. So together, the 5 of us will take you on an informative journey. And don't worry, if you miss things, you can always review the slide deck and the recording after the session, as both will be posted on our website. Okay, I think we're ready to get started into the presentation component, beginning with an opening around what ISS is, International Services for Students. And I'd like to share with you what our unit can do to support you. As an international student on our campus, your transition into this new life experience as a student at SFU can be, exciting but also challenging. So don't worry, ISS is going to be like your best friend. We're here to support you. We're commonly known as ISS, and we are a key resource for all international students. Our team consists of regulated Canadian immigration consultants such as Jatinder and Georgia, who are all licensed to provide you with advice relating to your study permit and visas and your eligibility to work in Canada. Our team also advises on medical insurance and navigating the Canadian healthcare system. We also support transition experiences as you come into SFU. More details about that to come. And then, hey, if you're interested to explore another international opportunity, our office also handles the exchanges and field school experiences and the administration around that. And lastly, ISS offers dedicated support to refugee and newcomer students. How can you contact with us? We've got multiple ways. We offer both in-person and virtual appointments at all three of SFU's campuses, namely Burnaby, Surrey, and Vancouver. And of course, you can also get in touch with us through email. And there's that handy QR code if you'd like to keep that handy. In terms of some other resources that exist, our website has lots to read, so you might get a bit overwhelmed, but I thought if I could just flag the welcome guides is a good place to start because we have 5 of them that are tailored specifically for the different international pathways that you come into this university, whether it's from a high school, whether it's from another college, whether it's from overseas. Each of these welcome guides gives some specific like to-do list, little step-by-step checklists. Do this, and then consider this. I think this might be a nice way for you to plug into some to-dos. As well, next slide, we have a space called the Global Student Center, otherwise known as the GSC. And this is a place where you can hang out to have your lunch, grab a snack, chat with friends, play a game. And for the fall, we will be opening 3 days a week at the Burnaby campus on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 11:30 to 3:30. If that works in your schedule, we would love to welcome you, have a chat with you, and connect you with other students and staff. You can drop by and ask a question, and if we can't answer them, don't worry. We're here to sort of help you get to the right place and the answer that you might need. We are located in what is called the Academic Quadrangle or the AQ in room 2013. In terms of some upcoming sessions that you might want to plug your calendars for that are happening at the GSC, we have some welcome events, we have a social insurance clinic, we have some socials, we have some hands-on activities. Mark your calendars and don't worry, you don't have to remember everything and go back and look at this because, hey, we have a newsletter specific to international students that will pop up automatically in your SFU email inbox every 2 weeks. And so our ask of you is to read it. Just read it. Every 2 weeks, read your International Student Services newsletter. We have summarized everything that you need that is applicable for your journey here at SFU in that newsletter. So you never have to worry about where to go and find things. All of it is there. I think that brings me to the end of our sort of welcome and introduction and sharing of resources. And now I'd like to get started with the immigration related portion of our session. So the next set of slides and presentation will address 9 important questions. These questions and answers will help you to hopefully get set up in a good way as an international student coming to SFU. Let's get started. Okay, Jatinder, I see that you're here and you ready?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, hi. So question number 1, Jatinder. What immigration documents do I need to study at SFU?
Okay, so that's a good question. Uh, so before I begin answering this question, I would also like to draw attention to everyone that the information that we're providing is current as of today, which is July 15, 2025. Canadian immigration policy continued to change very rapidly and without notice. So therefore, the information could change without any notice. I also want to preface my presentation by saying that you don't have to remember everything that I say. This is meant to be overview of some important concepts and questions. Our team will be here for you throughout your studies, and you can connect with us when you have questions, need clarification, or when you're not sure where to turn. Now, to answer the question, most international students require a study permit to study at SFU. Depending on your country of nationality, you may also need a visa or electronic authorization to travel to Canada. So if you look at this slide, if you look at the travel documents section of the slide, you will see two documents, travel authorization listed, temporary resident visa or TRV, and the electronic travel authorization or ETA. The TRV, sometimes also referred to student visa or visitor visa, is a document required by visa required citizens to travel to Canada. The ETA is an electronic travel authorization required for most TRV exempt foreign countries and is linked to your passport. TRV and ETA do not give you immigration status in Canada. Instead, they are travel documents or travel authorization. These are automatically issued to you if you applied for your study permit from outside of Canada when your application has been approved. Your study permit, on the other hand, is your immigration status document. It gives you temporary immigration status in Canada as an international student, allow you to pursue your studies at SFU, and allow you to remain in Canada for a specified period of time. If you would be traveling to Canada for the first time for the fall 2025 term, and you are outside of Canada, application has been approved, you will receive your study permit upon entering Canada after examination with Border Service Officer. One quick tip, when the study permit has been issued to you at the airport or the port of entry, make sure to check your personal information is correct on your study permit. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jatinder. So question number 2. I have a study permit from my previous Canadian school. Do I need to apply for a new one?
That's a good question. So, starting November 8, 2024, IRCC has introduced a new requirement for international students who want to change school while holding a valid study permit. So this basically applies to students who are already in Canada with a valid study permit. So under this policy, a student must first apply for a new study permit and receive approval before they can begin their program at the new institute or SFU in this case. This applies to all study permit holders transferring to SFU, whether from a Canadian high school or from another designated learning institute in Canada. One exception is for students transitioning from secondary to post-secondary studies. They are still required to apply for a new study permit, but they are allowed to begin their program at SFU while awaiting a decision on their application.
Great. Moving on to question 3. I'm applying for my SFU study permit. Do I need a provincial attestation letter or a PAL?
So under current RCC policy, most study permit applicants are required to include provincial attestation letter or PAL when they apply for the study permit unless they are exempt from a PAL requirement. A PAL is necessary in several situations. So let's discuss some of the situations where you might need a PAL for your study permit application. So for example, in first scenario, if you are changing school, so for example, transferring to Simon Fraser University from another post-secondary in Canada, you will need a new PAL before you submit your study permit application. The second scenario could be you will still need a PAL if you're changing level of studies. So for example, if you are a secondary student and would be transitioning to post-secondary such as SFU, you would need a study permit. And the third scenario, in case you experience refusal of your application and you would be reapplying, you would need a new PAL. Now, it is important for applicant to confirm whether they need a PAL to avoid processing delays or refusal. So in this slide, I've not covered all the scenarios in which you would need a PAL. So if this is one of the situation doesn't apply to you, and if you're not sure if you need a PAL, please connect with our team, and we will be happy to assist you with your inquiries. Thank you.
Great. I love the PAL-TAL acronym. Number 4 question. Do study permit holders have to study full-time every term?
Yeah, that's a great question. Uh, Especially if you're planning to work on campus, if you want to apply for your post-graduation work permit, this is an important question. So first of all, you can visit our enrollment requirement website. You can see the QR code on the right side of this slide to understand the definition of a full-time student for undergrad student. I do recommend that you familiarize yourself with this definition as you prepare for course planning now and in the future terms. So your enrollment in SFU, whether you're studying full-time or part-time, affects your ability to work, study, and stay in Canada after you complete your program. We will talk a bit more about working in Canada during and after your studies a bit, but now let's focus on your study permit and the condition you need to adhere to as a study permit holder in Canada. As a study permit holder, you are expected to actively pursue your program. So what does that mean? That basically means you should be able to make a reasonable progress towards the completion of your program. From RCC perspective, this means you must enroll in each formal academic terms during your studies at SFU in Canada. Now, what does academic session means for undergrad student? For SFU undergrad student, spring and fall are considered formal academic terms. To be considered actively pursuing your program as required by IRCC, you can be enrolled in a full-time or occasional part-time from the perspective of your study permit. With that being said, part-time study can impact your eligibility to work on and off campus while you study and future PGWP eligibility. Studying part-time can also have non-immigration related consideration attached. So we recommend consulting with the required with the applicable department at SFU. So for example, financial aid and awards, residence and housing, your academic department to explore those considerations if you plan to drop to part-time study. It is also important to note that all DLIs, including SFU, are required to report to IRCC on the enrollment status of the student 2 times in a year. I hope that is clear, but again, if you have more questions, feel free to go to this QR code, or you're always welcome to connect with us.
Thanks. So we're halfway through the immigration questions. So question 5, Jatinder. Can I work in Canada while I'm studying?
Yeah, that's one of the most popular questions, as a lot of students would like to work and gain some Canadian experience while they study in Canada. So let's tackle this. So while you are studying in Canada, you may be eligible to work on campus, off campus, or in SFU required internship or co-op term. So I will go through the eligibility requirement for each in the next few minutes. So let's start with the on-campus work. If to be able to work on campus, you would need to meet certain requirement, which you see on this slide. So as per IRC definition, on-campus means you can work at all buildings within the boundaries of SFU campus. An on-campus employer may include university, yourself, that is self-employment located in the school, and a private business that provide on-campus services to the school. You can review the full definition of what constitute on-campus work on the RCC website. To be able to work on campus, you must first of all have a valid study permit, and that permit must include a condition printed on it stating that you are eligible to work or accept employment if eligible. To this point, please be sure to check these conditions appear on your study permit. If they do not, you can contact us and we can help you with the process of updating your study permit. And that is why I mentioned that when study permit is issued to you at the port of entry, make sure that you have that condition printed on it. You will also need to be enrolled studying full-time at SFU in the term you wish to work on campus. It is important to remember that you cannot start to work on and off campus under your study permit until your first term of study officially begins and you meet all RCC requirements for the type of work you intend to pursue. You will also need to have a valid social insurance number, also known as SIN, for any work you do in Canada. This number is used for tax purposes and required for employers to pay you. You will require a study permit containing the condition for working on and off campus on a work permit for you to be able to apply for SIN number. You can apply to SIN to Service Canada. You can apply for it online, and even earlier during the session, Zorin also mentioned that upcoming social insurance number clinic taking place in September. So you can also apply for SIN via one of these clinics if you would like to do that. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about working off campus. To work off campus without a work permit, in addition to being enrolled full-time and holding a valid study permit with work condition, you must be enrolled full-time at SFU, which is at least 9 units for undergrad student. You will also need a social insurance number to be able to work off campus. Now, if you meet the criteria to work off campus, you may work up to 24 hours during an academic term, and you can work full-time during a scheduled break. During regularly scheduled break, you can work full-time provided you meet the criteria. I have included in the slide what can constitute a regularly scheduled break for SFU undergrad student and a QR code to our website where you can read more about the criteria you need to be able to work full-time during a scheduled break. Again, you will also need a social insurance number to be able to work either on or off campus. Next slide, please. Now, apart from on and off campus, you may also be able to work full-time if your program has a mandatory co-op, internship, or practicum requirement, or you are accepted into SFU co-op program. You will need to apply for co-op work permit to the required SFU work terms. So you can request a co-op work permit when you apply for initial work permit, study permit, if your SFU letter of acceptance confirm that there is a work internship requirement in your program. Now remember that for most undergrad program at SFU, there is no mandatory co-op as like part of your program, but most program allows you to do co-op, which basically means you would be eligible to apply for co-op work permit once you meet the condition for the co-op program. If you are interested to do co-op as a part of your program, it is recommended that you talk to your academic advisor and explore the possibility of doing a co-op. So whether you apply for co-op work permit in Canada or outside of Canada, you will require documentation from SFU confirming there's a mandatory co-op internship requirement in your study program. This document is called co-op letter. As a reminder, your co-op work permit can only be used for work that is essential part of your program of study at SFU. And in terms you are enrolled at SFU co-op internship, which basically means the SFU co-op work permit cannot be used to work off campus. So I hope that gives you some kind of information about your eligibility to work on, off campus, and as a co-op student.
Thanks, Jatinder, for walking us through all three of those contexts for working. Moving on to question 6. Can I stay in Canada and work after I finish my studies at SFU?
Thank you, Zorian. So that's one of the other important question. Uh, I know that a lot of international students would like to stay in Canada once they have completed their program. So good thing is that full-time international student in Canada may be eligible to apply for post-graduation work permit upon completing their program of study in Canada. Now, post-graduation work permit or PGWP is an open work permit of up to 3 years in length, and you don't need a job offer to apply for PGWP. Under the PGWP program, students are required to meet a set of eligibility criteria, and you can see on the left-hand side of this slide. So the first criteria is that your program should be at least 8 months or longer in duration. So as an undergrad program, since your program is at least 4 months, you would all meet that requirement. The second requirement is that you must study full-time in all formal academic terms. So what does that mean for undergrad student? You should be full-time in every spring and fall, with the exception of final term or an authorized leave. Apart from that, RCC also has introduced some new requirement last year. As of November 1, 2024, when you apply for BGWP, you would need to demonstrate language skills in one of the official languages of Canada, which is English or French. There's another requirement about field of study, and you might be confused by that, but that doesn't apply to degree students. So for example, if you are pursuing a bachelor, master, or doctoral degree program at SFU, the field of study requirement will not be applicable to you. Now, if receiving a post-graduation work permit after your studies is a priority for you, it is important that you maintain full-time enrollment in these terms, as we do see work permit refusal in cases where a student did not meet the full-time requirement. Now, we do understand that sometimes there might be reason or circumstances students may not be able to maintain full-time status during all the academic terms. If you find yourself in such situation, we've taken a term off or you have become part-time, we recommend that you book an appointment with International Student Advisor to discuss potential immigration-related impact. We will be here to support you with your application.
Great, thank you. Moving to question 7. Jatinder, what documents do I need to carry when I travel to Canada? Now that I've done all the other things, I'm coming, just wanted to double check when I hit the airport, what do I need to make sure I have?
So I hope most of you have applied for your study permit and it is approved. And if you are and you're excited to come to Canada to study at SFU, so let's discuss what all documents you need. So when traveling to Canada, make sure you are carrying your passport, your travel document, and your study permit or study permit approval in case you have applied for your study permit from outside of Canada. In addition to that, you must have valid TRV or ETA to be able to travel to Canada, as we discussed during first of the question. We also recommend that you carry your SFU letter of acceptance, your offer letter, and SFU confirmation of enrollment, which you can download from a GoSFU account. You should also carry proof of available funds to support you and your family members accompanying you to Canada when you enter Canada. Additionally, if you require a immigration medical exam, please make sure that you carry with that too, and your exam should be valid when you travel to Canada. I recommend that you pack this document in your carry-on luggage so that you will have easy access to them when you arrive in Canada. It is also recommended that you also have a copy of these documents in your phone so you can access them as and when needed. You can review the document that you should carry when traveling to Canada as an international student on the IRCC website. You can also review our frequently asked question page dedicated to this topic by scanning this QR code on this slide. If your study permit application was approved from outside of Canada, your study permit will be issued to you at the port of entry after an examination with the Canadian Border Service Agency, as I also mentioned earlier. Again, it is important to make sure and double check your permit for accuracy prior to leaving the port of entry. So, for example, your name, date of birth, condition for working on permit, etc.
Great. So I think this is coming to our last question for the immigration related part. Jatinder, once my study permit is in fact approved, how soon can I actually travel to Canada?
Thank you, Zareen. So we receive a lot of questions from students, like how soon they can travel to Canada once the study permit is approved. Now, RCC does not have a strict rule for how early students can arrive in Canada before the classes begin, but it must be within a reasonable time frame to settle in. Importantly, students are not allowed to work either on or off campus until their program officially starts. In the past, Canadian Embassy often recommend arriving no more than 4 weeks before the term begins. However, this is not a hard limit. From the border perspective, CBSA officer expects students to arrive within reasonable period, and arriving too early might raise question. To avoid issues at the border, students should be prepared to explain the early arrival plans and show proof of sufficient funds to demonstrate that they won't need to work before the studies begin. So these are some of the important considerations if you're planning to apply, if you're planning to come to Canada early. With that, we have come closer to the immigration questions. And if you have more questions, we'll be discussing those during the Q&A session. Thank you, Zoreen, for walking us through all the questions.
No, the thank you goes to you, Jatinder. You're the one who gave all these hot tips, important information, and easy to use QR codes. Thank you so much. So now we're going to switch from immigrated related information to the specific admissions process. Chelsea works as the Director of International Recruitment here at SFU, and she's going to give us a couple of hints on what to expect and what to be aware of. So over to you, Chelsea.
Thank you so much, Zareen, and thank you, Jatinder, for all of that important information. Next slide. It doesn't look like I can adjust. Perfect. Okay, so at this stage, I'm going to invite everybody to just take a deep breath. There's a lot of information there about study permits and about this process of entering Canada. And we want to take the time to recognize that this can be a stressful process. And so comes to an important stage here of what happens if my study permit is not approved in time. I know this is an issue that many of you are starting to worry about. We're starting to prepare and we're starting to look at next steps. So I'm going to walk you through some of these processes as best as we can, and hopefully give you some assurance that there's still time to have this document arrive in time. So when we look at what happens when a study permit doesn't arrive, we need to undergo the potential of a deferral situation. So a deferral is typically granted on the basis of extenuating circumstances. So sometimes this is you may get sick or something happens in your family. There's something that interrupts your plan. So that's an exceptional circumstance. Mandatory military service often comes up for a lot of our students, or also a study permit rejection. So these are the most common approved ways by which we enter a deferral process for our undergraduate students. So if you would have been to our website, you would see that this application period has opened for July 1st to August 15th for students who are in this situation. And then a lot of our students now are starting to request deferrals based on a study permit delay, okay? And so what we need to just really take our time here is recognize that we're only at July 15th and that we still have a month and a half before classes really start. And so I'm just here to caution students about requesting a deferral for your study permit delay at this stage in the process. So again, take a deep breath with me. I'm stressed, I'm worried, my permit's not here. We just have to be a little bit patient here, okay? And so it's really important when you take a look at your deferral process, which type of student you are, because there's slightly different standard or slightly different processes for which bucket you fit into. So if you take a look at our admissions deferral website, you'll see there's sort of 3 landing zones. The first is, are you an FIC student? So are you studying at Fraser International College or Pathway Institution? That has a set of instructions. Please follow the instructions from there. If you happen to be a domestic student or an international student who has transitioned to a domestic student, there is a category for you there. But so for all other international students, so you're transferring, you're studying maybe at a K-12 institution, or you're entering Canada for the first time, this is sort of the information that I'm going to be giving you on how to proceed here. So the number one part to understand here is that we do not defer admissions based on a few categories, and we need to understand that the first part is that you didn't meet the conditions of your offer. So some of you may be granted admissions on a conditional offer, and for some reason your results fell below our threshold. So that does not grant a deferral. That would be something you might have to take a look at your application, consider a reapplication in the future, consider a pathway college for this. Another category that we're starting to get inquiries on is for students who wish to continue studying at another post-secondary institution. Okay, and so this is sort of that study permit delay area if you're in Canada. And it's important to understand that if you continue to study at another institution beyond your admission to SFU, your admission is now impacted. So we need to reevaluate this application. So it's not an automatic deferral opportunity. And this is a case-by-case information request whereby we need to take a look, and it's not guaranteed. Okay, so for those of you who are already maybe studying in Canada at another institution and you're waiting for the study permit, please do not request your deferral yet. Please wait for enough time for this to come through. So next slide, please. Okay. And so how do we request a deferral if we are ready at this stage to do so? You must accept your offer and pay your admissions deposit. So sometimes students are pending, they haven't paid their deposit, they're just waiting to find out their admission. That's the first step. We really need to have you committed to move forward. And then if you are ready to submit a deferral, you need to prepare your supporting documentation. So if we're looking at an extenuating circumstance, you need to provide me what is the circumstance. I need the documentation. If it's military service, send me that document. If it is potentially a hospitalization or a medical issue, please send me those documents to review. So the onus is on you as a student to collect all of the information to submit for this deferral request. Please note these documents are confidential. We're not going to be sharing these widely. It's something that we just need to make sure that everything is in place to make this decision. And you also need to let us know when you want to start your studies, because you can defer up to 3 terms or 1 year later. So maybe you want to defer all the way to next fall. Okay, no problem. Or maybe you just want to consider January. You have to have that information ready. The next step is that we're going to get these documents, we're going to start looking at it, but then you need to meet the conditions of your offer. So that means you need to submit your final scores. So we know it's final score time. Some results are coming in from around the world. I have a slide as to where to send this if you haven't already done so. You need to meet those conditions and make sure that that offer still holds up for you. And then the last step really is if we do determine a deferral is granted, you have to notify residents, right? You have to tell us if you're in SFU housing that you're no longer coming for the term and you want to defer sort of maybe your housing to the term that you're deferring to. Okay, so you can email housing for all that correspondence. So just really be sure, collect all your documentation, have all the information that you need ready. And please make sure that you have this in one email and you're going to send it to myself. That email is there, director_international recruitment@sfu.ca. And always, always, always moving forward, be sure to include your SFU student ID and your full name in all communications. Next slide. Okay, and so before we make this consideration of a deferral, let's make sure you have all the information, because there are some implications if you choose to defer. So entrance scholarships, awards, and bursaries are something that you need to make sure you have all the information on. Not all entrance scholarships can be deferred. So if you are granted an entrance scholarship, you need to make sure that that can be deferred. We do not offer all of our entrance scholarships in every term. Some are only available in September. So please ensure you have the full information and understand the impact of if you defer. And course enrollment. Most of you have already been contacted about your course enrollment date, and you should have started your registration period. Continue with your enrollment process as it is, because deferrals are not guaranteed. We don't want you to miss out on courses that maybe your study permit arrives late, or maybe you're not granted a deferral and you need to make a decision. We need to make sure you actually have the classes that you're in, because if you wait too long, those courses may disappear and you will struggle to find enough courses, which can impact your ability to be a full-time student. And we don't want that to be a problem as well, okay? Keep in mind, if you do register in classes and you've continued with your enrollment process, it is your responsibility to drop the courses that are in play before the start of the academic term to avoid penalties. So if there's ever any doubt or any concern, our teams are always here to support you at how to do this, but continue with enrollment and then drop if your deferral is guaranteed. The other option here is if your study permit is delayed and you come a little bit later, you can start a program late if you're registered in these classes, but we do not recommend you start classes beyond week 2, because missing 2 weeks of classes is already a lot of information that you're missing. You're missing the intro, that getting to know your professors. So we highly recommend that you don't consider beyond week 2. And also know that there are very limited online classes, okay? So if you have enrolled in online courses, you may be able to start remotely. But if you didn't enroll in online classes, we can't guarantee that these will be available for you. So please make sure you consider everything before you submit a deferral request, because once it's processed, it's difficult to go backwards from there, okay? Again, please make sure we're going to make sure you know your refund deadlines, the understanding the final decision on a study permit and what that can impact, and also your postgraduate work permit impacts. And so this is where the team here is there to support these inquiries that you have. What is the impact to me for this decision? So please don't hesitate to ask for clarification, and we can move to the next slide. And then, what are my important dates here? So I've emphasized this. The onus is on you to drop classes, to register in classes. So really key dates that we're going to look at here: September 9, September 16, and September 23rd. So September 9th is the last day to add and swap classes within GoSFU, so on your own. You can actually add some classes a little bit later, but you need faculty permission to do this. And so it's quite a cumbersome step. So September 9th is the date that should stay in your brain. It's also the last day to withdraw from a class with no notation on your academic record. So what that means is if you withdraw from classes beyond certain dates, it actually shows up on your academic record. And this is the last day to drop classes, whereby you'll get 100% of your tuition back for that class. So September 16th then becomes the last day to drop without what's called a WD on your record. And it's the last day to drop classes with a 75% refund. So you see, the later you go from here, the more that you're being impacted by refunds. And then September 23rd is whereby it's the last day to drop classes with a 50% refund. And therefore, if you wait till September 24th, you will not get a refund for your classes. So the deferral process is something to not be taken lightly. Please know that SFU is a large institution. There's a large admissions process that goes into this. And so take the time to be patient with your study permit. I know it's stressful. I know lots is happening, but it's just July 15th now. There's still time. So August 15th is when I will start making some further decisions on the deferrals for delays. Okay. And last but not least, do not forget to submit your final results. So that was one of the conditions for a deferral. Send us your final results, meet the conditions, get everything wrapped up. If you're waiting for an admissions letter, something like this, it usually has to do with your results. So don't hesitate to send your results off to the admissions team from there. Okay. That's it for me. So thank you so much for having me here today. I hope we can take some deep breaths, know that there is still time to get your study permit. And so thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Chelsea, for taking us through the deferral process and reminding us of all these important considerations. And I love the reminder about that, taking that deep breath and being a little patient with the timeline of things before making some big decisions. Thank you. We're going to now switch gears. Medical insurance. It's another important topic specifically for international students. And the next set of slides and presentation will address 8 more questions. I've got my colleague Ishani on the line here. Ishani, we ready to go?
Sounds like a plan, Zorin. Let's get started.
Let's get started. Okay, so question number 1. Let's just talk big picture here. Medical insurance. How does it work?
Yes, so medical insurance is a very important topic, as you mentioned. So, as international students, you must have adequate medical insurance for the entire duration of your studies. So, if you do have any family members accompanying you, they also need to make sure that they have proper coverage for their stay in Canada. So, medical services can be extremely costly if you don't have proper insurance. For example, the BCMSP website indicates that hospital cost alone can exceed $1,000 a day. As such, it's in your best interest, as well as it's your responsibility to ensure that you have proper coverage at all times. So there are 2 types of insurance, primary and secondary, and together they make up your comprehensive insurance coverage in Canada. Next slide, please.
So how about we talk about that difference? Question number 2. What is the difference between primary and secondary insurance?
Yes, so primary medical insurance covers medically necessary services. So those would be things like doctor's visits, hospital stays, and diagnostic medical testing, such as x-rays or lab tests, if you ever need to have one. So primary medical insurance is a legal requirement for all residents of BC, including international students. And secondary insurance covers services that BCMSP does not, or primary medical insurance generally does not. So those would be things like dental services, vision care, extended health care, such as prescription drugs, or massage therapy, or counseling. Next slide, please.
Perhaps we could get into a little more detail. So the next 2 questions will address some details specifically about the primary medical insurance, and then we'll get into 2 questions specifically on the secondary insurance.
Sounds like a
Question
good
3.
Yeah.
What is the main primary medical insurance plan?
So BC Medical Services Plan, or BCMSP as we commonly refer to it, is a provincial medical insurance plan, and that is also going to be your main primary medical insurance plan. So it is a legal requirement for everyone who lives in BC for longer than 6 months to enroll in this plan. So new students who arrive in BC should apply for BCMSP right away. There is roughly a waiting period of 3 months before your MSP coverage will be effective. And to cover this waiting period, SFU provides a temporary primary medical insurance plan called GuardMe, which we'll go over in a bit. So you can apply for BCMSP online, and to apply for BCMSP, your current study permit needs to be valid for a period of 6 months or longer. And if you do have any dependents, they can be added to your plan, or they can maintain their own independent MSP accounts as well. So the BCMSP does cost $75 per month, and it's called the International Student Health Fee for study permit holders. So once the BCMSP is effective, you will start receiving a monthly invoice by mail, and you can make the payments online. So this charge does not appear on your GoSFU account. Some students kind of confuse the international medical insurance charges you see as the BCMSP fees, but that's not the case. So you are in charge of making the monthly payments to Health Insurance BC directly on your own. And next slide, please. And then once you have your BC MSP account, it's also important that you keep it updated and valid at all times. So as an international student, your MSP coverage will be valid only for the length of the study permit that you apply for BC MSP with. So if you end up renewing your study permit in the future, or if you obtain a post-graduation work permit, you must make sure that you update your MSP account with those new immigration documents as well. And then if you're in between study permits right now, you can request for temporary MSP coverage while you're waiting for your new study permit to be issued. So you can request for temporary MSP coverage initially for 6 months, and then once you get your new study permit, you can update your MSP coverage to match the validity of a new study permit. And maintaining your MSP account also entails updating your address if you move so that you won't miss out on any important correspondence. And also, once again, making sure that you're staying on top of your monthly payments as well. And you can do all of this by visiting the MSP website online. Next slide, please.
So how do I get coverage while I'm going through the MSP waiting period?
Yeah, so we briefly talked about GuardMe and SFU. So GuardMe and SFU is a temporary primary medical insurance plan that SFU provides. And this plan is meant to cover any medical emergencies while you're waiting for your BC MSP to be effective. So as international students, you will be automatically enrolled in the GuardMe and SFU plan only for your first term. So you will not be enrolled in this plan in any subsequent terms. And the cost of the plan is $281. It will be part of your fall term fees. And at the beginning of the term, you will receive an email from GuardMe directly with a link to access your GuardMe portal online. So you can log into this portal if you want to review your policy details, if you want to submit any claims, and then if you do have any dependents, they can also be added to your plan once you receive the policy details at an additional cost. So your GuardMe plan will be effective from September 1st onwards until December 31st of this year. And if you're planning to arrive earlier than that to get yourself settled, you can purchase early arrivals insurance on the GuardMe website yourself, or you can organize travel insurance of your choice to cover any gaps as well. Next slide, please. And it's also possible that you already have valid BC MSP if you've been living in BC for a while. For example, you might be a FIC student or transferring from another post-secondary institution. And if this is the case, you can opt out. You can opt out from your GuardMe plan for a full refund by uploading proof of your MSP coverage before September 30th on the GuardMe opt-out website. And then if you're a brand new resident of BC, you might be eligible for a partial refund if you receive valid BC MSP and opt out before November 30th on the GuardMe website as well. And in either case, to be eligible for a refund, you must have not used your GuardMe plan. Next slide, please.
So there's definitely a lot of good information there. Just wondering, Ishani, maybe we could summarize some top takeaways about the primary insurance component before moving on.
Absolutely. So if I can whittle down the two plans into 3 main points, it is that your GuardMe plan is temporary. Sometimes it's a misconception. Students think they might have GuardMe for their entire time at SFU. It is not the case. It will be only for your first term. So it is important that you will have valid BC MSP coverage by the time your first term and your GuardMe plan come to an end for continuous primary medical insurance coverage. And it is also a legal requirement to have BC MSP. And then make sure that you avoid any lapses in coverage with your primary medical insurance. So make sure that each time you get a new immigration document, you update your MSP account as well, and then that you stay on top of your monthly payments. So that covers primary medical insurance, and we can now move on to secondary medical insurance.
Great. Yeah. So the next 3 questions we're going to move on to that will address the details that make the secondary different than primary. So question number 6, what is my secondary insurance plan?
Yes, so as a reminder, secondary insurance covers services that BC MSP does not, such as dental, vision, health, extended health benefits like prescription drugs. So undergraduate students receive secondary insurance through the SFSS, or the Simon Fraser Students Society Health and Dental Plan. It's provided by Student Care, so we also refer to it as the Student Care Plan, depending on who you talk to. So Once again, it's another reminder to enroll in BCMSP because to access some benefits of your secondary insurance plan, you also need to have BCMSP coverage. Sometimes students think that they can use this plan for doctor's visits or hospital services, and that is not the case. So these two plans kind of go hand in hand. So it is another reminder to enroll in BCMSP as well. Next slide, please.
So I'm convinced. So, Ishani, how do I get this insurance coverage?
So once you complete course enrollment, you will be automatically enrolled in this secondary insurance plan. And unlike the government plan, this is actually an annual plan. So you will be enrolled for a full policy year, starting from September 1st until August 31st of next year. And then this will renew each fall term as well, as long as you are enrolled in courses. So there are two tiers to this plan, the enhanced plan, which covers more coverage, and then the basic plan as well. And you will be automatically enrolled in the enhanced plan, and the fees for it will be included in your fall term fees. So there is an important timeline for you to keep in mind for this plan, which is called the change of coverage period for fall. So if you do want to add any dependents to this plan or opt out because you have equivalent coverage, maybe through a parent or an employer, or if you want to downgrade your plan from the enhanced plan to the basic plan, you must do that. You must do all of this during this change of coverage period. And you can access the portal on the secondary insurance website, which you can access by scanning the QR code on the slide. Next slide, please.
Excellent. So for question 8, where can I find more information about my secondary insurance plan, knowing that there's all these specific details?
That's right. So the Student Care website is a great resource because it has comprehensive information about your coverage details. You can also add any dependents or opt out of the plan on their website and also learn about the discounts you can get. And Georgia, if you move to the next slide, we can find the QR code to access the SFS's website as well. And then the Student Care also has an office at the Burnaby campus if you would like to stop by and get any help in person. They also have a virtual assistance center if you would like to chat to one of their agents in real time. Next slide, please. And you can also attend this medical insurance info session, which we will have in September. As a refresher, we will also have a student care representative who will be presenting at this information session as well. So you'll learn a lot more info in depth as well. So we encourage you to register for this session by scanning the QR code. So with that, Zoe, I'll hand it over to you to wrap up our session.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks so much, Ishani, for taking us through the medical insurance component. This is a call out and reminder if you are a Fraser International College or an FIC student, please note that you can attend this in-person session that's happening next Wednesday, July 23rd at your campus. It's a space where you can ask in person some questions, connect with our staff members who will be there, and yeah, maybe just get a little more clarity for your next steps. So just mark your calendars. So I'm bringing in a 9:32.